Hi, I'm Sophie.
Hi, I'm Eimear.
Today we're going to have a chat about postgraduate qualifications. So Eimear, can you tell us about some postgraduate qualifications that people can do when they're in training?
Yeah, so you can do loads. You can do PG certs, PG dips, and then full-blown masters. A lot of the postgraduate masters courses will be 3 years, so in the first year you can take a PG cert, and if you don't want to continue then you can graduate with that, or you can go on and do the PG dip and then the year afterwards complete it with a master's qualification. Those types of courses are usually a lot better than going for a full-blown masters if you're in full-time training, because it means if you find the workload too much you can take an early exit point and you still get a qualification out of it.
Good. And what sort of subjects can we do?
So there's loads, it depends what specialty you're wanting to do. I did one in surgical sciences. I used to want to be a surgeon, wrong choice.
Emotional, damn it!
But the qualification for that followed the same curriculum as the postgraduate exam, so the MRCS in surgery, which meant that I wasn't taking on what I thought was too much because I was getting to do revision for my master's and for my MRCS at the same time.
And I think there's also postgraduate qualifications in things like teaching and leadership.
Yeah, so lots of things like that. You can pretty much do a postgraduate qualification in anything you want. You can do it with a Royal College or you can do it with a specific university. It's worth checking out where you graduated from your undergraduate degrees in, because you sometimes get alumni discounts from that.
That's really nice to know. What sort of reasons would people have to do a postgraduate qualification?
So postgraduate qualifications mean points, but also if you have an interest in research or a particular area, there's no point in doing one if you're not interested, because they are painful if you don't have the motivation to do them. So don't just do them for points on your CV or points for your portfolio, but you can do them if you're interested in an introduction to research or you're interested into an introduction in education.
What's it like actually studying for some of these postgraduate qualifications?
So it can be difficult. It's a lot easier doing them for a postgraduate qualification than it is for a membership exam, mostly because you've got a full faculty of people to support you from the university whenever you're doing your postgraduate exam. So if you need help or you need extra resources, they're on hand to give that to you. But you do have to factor in that it's not part of your training, so your job plan isn't going to allow for that.
Okay. And what does the course actually look like when you're doing it?
It largely depends which course you're doing, whether you're doing it full-time or part-time, and whether it's evening classes, whether it's distance learning. You've got to factor in all of these things whenever you pick the course.
Okay. Is there a way to fit this sort of thing into your training programme, or any tips on fitting it into your training programme that you can give us?
So in FY you don't get FY1 you don't get any study leave, but you do rotate through different jobs. So depending on what your banding is looking like or the intensity of your jobs, it might be doable to do postgraduate qualifications during that. Similarly in FY2 you do get a study budget. It is harder to use it for things like this, like taking a day off for classes might not be the easiest thing to incorporate, but it is possible. In specialty training it's a lot easier to get study leave for things like this, but if you're struggling at all and you really want to do it, you can think of doing stuff like an out-of-programme placement where you can do master's or a PhD full-time.
And I suppose if you were already doing one and you found it was difficult, you could have a chat with your educational supervisor about how to best work that in.
Yeah, exactly. So I had my master's thesis last year and I found it really difficult to work it in with my day-to-day job. Had a chat with my educational supervisor and they organised for me to have a couple of days of study leave last minute, which was really good. It meant I met my deadlines. But postgraduate qualifications are really flexible as well. It's not like being at medical school where you're part of an annual year where you've got to get the exams and do the resits on time to pass. Like the thesis deadlines for master's degrees are very movable. So if you need an extension of 6 months, if you need an extension of just 2 weeks, you just need to talk to people and figure it out, and they're more than happy to do that.
And are these postgraduate qualifications expensive?
So yeah, they can be expensive. It depends. There's lots of funding options available. So for example, some of the surgical masters in particular, or things with a surgical theme, you can get funding from bodies like ACIT or the Royal College, and obviously things like student loan companies still exist even for postgraduate exams, and certainly in Scotland they're very accommodating and helping support you through that.
So from a practical point of view, do you find that these postgraduate qualifications actually add to your ability as a clinician?
Yeah, I mean, as an undergraduate, I didn't do anything before I studied medicine, and then my medical degree didn't have any research in it. So when I did my master's, it was actually really interesting to get an introduction to research, and now I've realised that that's something that I want to have as part of my training programme. So it's allowed me to develop a lot of relationships with the university that I obtained my master's from, and with my local department where I did my thesis.
And sometimes, because you've put a lot of work into your thesis, it can actually lead to publications and presentations, can't it?
Yeah, so your thesis is a really good way of getting a first author publication, which often helps, and usually your master's supervisor will be really knowledgeable on how to get that published and where's best to publish it, and often you can get more than one publication out of your master's thesis, which is a really good idea. The same can be said for PG certs and PG dips. It just depends whether you're having a talk component or a research component, and that's something that you need to look into whenever you're choosing your postgraduate qualification.
So it sounds like there's lots of opportunities to do postgraduate qualifications in various different areas, and by the sounds of things they add quite a lot to you as a professional as well as just being points on your CV. So thanks for talking about that, Eimear.
No problem, anytime.
If you have any questions, pop them in the comments box below and we'll get back to you. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, like, subscribe and let us know.